I don't have a blue coat and I don't have time to make the one from the film yet, even though I really, really want to. So we're just gonna have to make do with this. Maybe I'll edit the colour settings later to make it look slightly more grey. Bear with me here, I'm doing my best. Why is Frankenstein's final shot reversed? So once again, I may be reading just far too much into this, but hey, it's fun, and isn't that what art's supposed to be all about? Creative interpretation, so I'm giving myself some grace here. It's fun to think about, and also it just really stuck out to me. So I've talked about a bunch of things before, particularly red as the Deus Ex in this film, and today I'm going to talk about the other thing that's very, very important to me, that final shot. Now, it's probably the mark of a decent film to leave you on a killer ending that wraps up the story and makes you feel something, whether that's happiness or sorrow or confusion or just thinking about something big and important. And I certainly think that Del Toro's Frankenstein did this. But is there more to it? Well, possibly. Or again, maybe I am just completely reading far too much into this, but interpreting art is fun. Interpreting is now a word. So yeah, here comes video essay number 3. Part 1, the creature's finale. Let's have a look at it then, and if it wasn't clear already, massive spoiler alert for the ending of the film Frankenstein, the story of Frankenstein, and just, you wouldn't be here if you didn't know that. Let's carry on. So let's look at it. Here is the final shot of the film Frankenstein. All by itself, this is a beautiful shot, very emotionally powerful, and that music, which, by the way, needs its own video because that burning angel theme and the fact that it keeps coming back over and over, love it, amazing, another DS theory to look out for. Anyway, that's a whole nother video. So, the shot itself is beautiful, beautifully shot, beautifully filmed, lovely, it's a beautiful ending to the film, it looks stunning, the music is amazing, the acting is beautiful, etc, etc. But when you know this character, the creature, and have seen the rest of this story through the film, you notice something. The creature's face is the wrong way around. In case you're not sure or you missed it, no worries, let me show you what I mean. Here are the images, shots from the rest of the film, behind the scenes of creating the creature, of putting all that prosthetic makeup on, my face that I have vaguely styled on the creatures itself based on the book. Here we go from the behind the scenes. I am by no means a special effects makeup artist, but I gave it my best shot for you guys today because I was Victor last time, so this time I'm being the creature. And also if I'm talking about the fact that the creature was flipped, I really need to have the creature's makeup on. So things to look out for so that you can notice as soon as a shot has been flipped. On the creature's face, he's got those crack-like scars that start on the edge of his face and move over the rest of his forehead. Now, these scars start on the right-hand side of his face, so his right, but the audience's left. So when you're looking at him from the audience, it's on your left, the left-hand side of the screen, but on his body, it's on the right. Bear with me here, does that make sense? Also, side note for another future video, I am going to be talking about the fact that the dark angel that Victor sees, that big statue, has cracks in exactly the same place as end up on the creature's face. But that's for another video. Anyway, back to the creature. So, big thing to look out for. Those two cracks going from the audience's left, but his right-hand side. Now, let's look at that final shot again. Those crack-like scars have flipped. They are now on the viewer's right and the creature's left-hand side. This image has been reversed. Now, this isn't that the creature has healed in a different way. No, through the rest of the film, it was consistent. He always had the cracks on that side. That's where those scars sat. Yes, it's been blown up by dynamite. However, after that, the cracks were still on that side as he went onto the ship, as he had his final goodbye with Victor. All of that happened with the cracks still on the same side. There is no reason for them to have suddenly flipped unless the image itself has been reversed. But this then begs the question, why? Why? Well, I will get to what I believe to be the reasons why a little bit later on. For now, let's look at the rest of the scene. What was building up to it? What has led up to this final shot? This scene comes just after the death of Victor Frankenstein, the creature's creator. It's a huge moment for our creature. He has had to let go and say goodbye to the last connection he has to anyone who cared about him, and he has done forgiveness. He has remembered what his friend, the blind man, taught him about knowing that you've been harmed, by who you've been harmed, and learning to sort of forgive and let it fade. And that's what he did. He told Victor Frankenstein, you will fade, and he said, I forgive you, when he was asked for forgiveness. With a sorrowful tear, the creature kissed his father's forehead and hopes, perhaps now we can both be human. Then he experiences another rare moment of kindness towards him from the ship's captain, who tells all of his men to stand down and they let the creature go free. The creature leaves the ship and then pushes it, releasing them from the ice where the ship was held trapped. Also, side note for a video I'm going to make about the making of this movie, they built a real ship, a whole massive real ship. It was really rigged up. They got people who build ships for a living and rig ships for a living to come and build this ship. It was on a moving platform so that when they pushed it, when Jacob pushed it, the creature actually pushes it, it moves. That's a real shot. It's not CGI. The boat is actually friggin' moving. I love this film so much. Anyway, practical effects, theatre kid for the win. So the creature has pushed the ship away, the captain has decided to go home, and he's not going to succumb to the same madness as Victor Frankenstein. The crew are delighted, and they all sail away to go home. The creature has his hood up, and he walks away onto the ice. We get a beautiful shot of him from behind where we see the sun rising and there's gold and yellow lights over the pale icy blue landscape. And then we see that final beautiful shot, which pans as he walks forwards towards the sunlight, the sunrise, and then he takes his hood down, he takes a breath, he closes his eyes, drinks in the sun and lowers his head, and that's where the film ends. The only shot that is reversed in all of that is the shot of the creature from the front, when we see him walking towards the sunrise and then he lowers his head and takes off his hood. And it's interesting that from the back, I don't think it is flipped. I'm going to look at that a little bit more closely, but from where the position of his furs are and just how the costume hangs and where his hair's sitting, and I think we can see the blondie streak in his hair, from behind, it's not flipped. It's only from the front that it's flipped. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And of course, this all just continues to beg the question, why? To quote Pirates of the Caribbean, for what point and purpose? Well, to try and find out, let's dive back into the film and look for other moments that were also reversed. So I have one shot to show you that is definitely flipped and reversed. And I have a few instances where scenes were quite literally mirrored shots. And by that I mean they were filmed in a mirror, but I still want to include them because I think there could be some correlations between all of them, thematically, cinematically, artistically, visually, all of this stuff. But first we're going to talk about the one other instance of an actual flipped, reversed shot of the creature. It is where he is walking through the trees, he kneels down, he has that Hamlet Shakespearean moment where he lifts up the skull and inspects it, and then he finds the coat. Side note, as you may know already, I am obsessed with this coat. I went back a second time to go to the exhibit, primarily just to look at that coat and get as many pictures as possible. I really want to make a take on this coat. That spine detail coming out the back and that moss. I made some similar moss for my Gollum cosplay, which I am making use of in my creature cosplay today. Thank you very much. So I will one day make this coat, but I do not have time. I have 3 big projects right now that I just really want to get finished, but this coat will always and forever be in the back of my mind. So complete side note, love that coat. We'll talk about more in the costuming video. Anyway, so this shot, the shot that is reversed, is from him walking into the trees to picking up the coat, and then it goes back to normal again. I'll get into more of the build up and what is happening before and after these scenes in a moment, but for now I'm going to talk about the other incidences of literal mirrored and flipped shots throughout the film. The first instance of a mirrored shot that literally takes place in a mirror happens in a bathroom. In this scene, we have Frankenstein. He's dressed all in his red. I talked about that in the Red Dies Irae video, and he is washing his hands in the bathroom. We see him in 3 big mirrors, and then in comes Hollander. Boo! They have a chat. Hollander explains how he is now going to be taking away his funds if Frankenstein can't find a way to do this. They talk about getting bodies off of the battlefield, but also big and important prominent part of this scene is that it starts with Hollander having noticed that Frankenstein has stroked Elizabeth's shoulder and maybe there might be something going on between them. And so he walks in and he essentially says, you know, hopefully we're not keeping you too busy to do your work. And, you know, Elizabeth is lucky we're here to look after her, you know, and take care of her and protect her. Hint, hint. Stop it. Bad boy. The second instance of a completely literally mirrored shot is again with Frankenstein and Hollander, and this time it takes place in the tower bedroom. So Frankenstein has come running down, there's a lightning storm starting, it's all cracking around them, and he's very excited to start, you know, making this creature happen because he's just finished work and the lightning storm is struck. He has run down to tell Hollander. Hollander then hides behind a screen in his dressing room, and Frankenstein is confused. Hollander asks him to give him some medication, and as we pan forwards, that's when the screen starts to show us this mirror flipped image, which is literally Hollander both in and out of the mirror. We see what Frankenstein sees, where we see that Hollander is sick. We see all these bloody red sores all over his head. We realize he's been wearing a wig this whole time, and we learn that he is sick. While he's in the mirror, when he's shot, he's talking to Frankenstein. We see him both in and out of the mirror, and he's explaining what is going to happen to him with the disease that both of them already know, and he is going to waste away. And eventually, one of my favourite lines from the film is, "And one fine morning, I will start to scream, and I will never stop." The third literally mirrored shot takes place in the tower laboratory, and this is involving Victor Frankenstein and the creature. Hooray! Our favourite boy is back. He is sitting there and Frankenstein is shaving his head. He's looking at the scars to see how they're healing, and the creature keeps trying to turn to look into this little round mirror. I have a little round mirror, hang on. Oh, this is cute. Okay, so the creature is sitting on a sort of little workbench and Victor is shaving his head and he keeps trying to turn him away and the creature keeps turning to look. Oh my god, it's falling off my face. So the creature keeps trying to turn to look and see himself in this mirror, in this glass. And Victor keeps pulling his face back and pulling it back and saying, no, down, down. And then eventually the creature looks so often and just stares at himself in his own reflection that Victor looks too. And we see them both in the mirror and he says, yes, that's you, all right? And then he turns him back again and keeps shaving his head. And then when he's done, the creature turns back and stares at himself in the mirror. And then he looks up and he sees the Medusa statue and he sort of mimics it by opening his mouth. And then he looks down and he picks up one of the razors and he ends up cutting his hand open. The fourth instance of a literally mirrored shot takes place on Elizabeth and William's wedding day. We follow Frankenstein as he goes into the bridal chambers and then he walks towards Elizabeth, stops, leaning on his cane, and he stands and he delivers a sort of speech to her. While he's doing this speech, the camera is completely behind him in this beautifully tricked shot where we can see the actor. We can only just see sort of his back, sort of his shoulder and the side profile of his face, and then we see him fully in the mirror, and then we see Elizabeth's face out of the mirror, just a little bit of her dress reflected in it. In this mirrored shot, Victor Frankenstein tells her that he has come to his senses, that a madness had gripped him for a long time, but he has come to his senses now. He sees her as he should, and he wishes her and his little brother, who he loves more than life, all the very best. And Elizabeth then calls him out on this and says, on my wedding day, could you just do one thing for me and just stop with the bullshit? Essentially, could you just stop lying? She stands up and says, give me this one grace on my wedding day. I know you want to believe this, but it's basically not true. You absolute dingbat of a liar. And then when he walks towards her and says, Elizabeth, I want to tell you, she slaps him and tells him to get out of her quarters. She tells him to leave. He then leaves. And that leads us very nicely into the next example of a literal mirrored shot, which takes place merely a few minutes after that one. And this is Victor Frankenstein again. He is in his quarters, the big bedroom at the wedding, and he has looked into the mirror. We've got a small shot of him in the mirror, but the mirrored scene in particular I want to talk about comes just after that, where he has realized that his window was open, and then he looks around and realizes that the creature must be there. The creature comes out, they have a conversation that turns into a confrontation. The creature has asked his maker to make him a companion. He said he cannot die. He basically is suffering and he is alone, so very lonely and alone, and his creator Victor scoffs at him. And a bit that I found, and I will talk about this more in another video about Victor Frankenstein's character, particularly prominent was when he scoffed at not just the idea of him having a companion, but having a home. The look on his face when he says a home, it's villainous, it's horrible. And then Victor walks over to the mirror and that's where we get our mirrored scene. Victor stands in the mirror and he says, I never again will I make something like you, wicked and deformed. Interestingly though, the creature is off screen for this moment and it's just him looking into the mirror at himself. So I'll talk about that more in the parallels video I'm going to do, but I feel like Victor Frankenstein's actually calling himself out in this moment with the whole wicked and deformed thing while looking at himself in a mirror. Yeah, it's not subtle, but you know. Then the creature walks in as he says, then it is still all about your will. And they have a moment where they talk to each other, looking at each other in the reflections. And the creature says, then it is still all about your will. That horrible, horrible will that birthed me condemns me now. Then he pulls Victor away from the mirror and they start to fight as he says, the miracle is not that I should speak, but that you should ever listen. Another beautiful line. I think I like it better than Harlander's. I may have to do a top 10 quotes from this film at some point. Remind me in the comments to do that because that sounds like a fun video. Anyway, back to this video for a second. So those are all the instances of actual reversed shots or mirrored reversed shots that I could find. If I have missed any, I'm sorry. Please point them out to me in the comments down below. All right then, let's move on to part number 3, connecting and comparing these moments. Is there anything that connects them? Do they have any similarities? Let's discuss. Let's have a look then and see if we can find anything that connects all of these reversed moments to maybe give a rhyme and a reason for why that finale shot was also reversed. First, let's literally take a look and let's see if there's anything visual that connects them. Well, the main visuals in the finale shot are the icy blues and the pale colours, that pale grey sky, that burst of warm gold from the sunlight, and of course the face of the creature with the sort of mossy, greeny, dark browny blues of his coat as well. The main visuals in the forest scene are a grey-blue sort of sky, the pale greens of the trees, and then the darker browny greens of the earth, the pale greeny greys of the bones and the skulls, and of course the pale blues of the creature himself as well. There are hints of sort of sunlight poking through, but it is mostly the sort of pale greys. The main visuals in the more literal mirrored scenes are in the bathroom, warm gold candlelight, sunlight coming through the window, the red of Victor's coat, brown wood, and the dash of blue on Harlander. In the tower bedroom, there are warm candles, blue on Harlander again, bluey grey in the stormy sky outside, and dark greeny blues in the background and the furniture. In the tower laboratory, there is the bright gold sunlight pouring through from one side of the screen. It pours all down across the creature and into the mirror as we look into that. Behind them, there's another window, which the sun isn't pouring directly into, and that one has a more sort of grey blue light. There's also the white of Victor's shirt, the green of the big sort of battery packs in the background, and of course the paleness of the creature. In Elizabeth's mirror, we've got again warm gold candlelight, we've got deep green grey sky outside the window, the big white of Elizabeth's dress and Victor's shirt, and the reddy brown of the wood furniture, and also in Elizabeth's hair as well. And then in Victor's mirrored shot, we've got the red gold of the fire from the fireplace and in the candles, we've got dark greeny grey in the sky outside, dark reddy brown mirror edging and on different bits of furniture, lots of long dark shadows, deep blues, browns and blacks of the creature's clothing, and then you've got the paleness in the creature's face as well. The main visual connections between all of these reversed shots then seem to be, number one, this gold burst of light, either coming from the sun itself or from flame and candles, and then a sort of grey, mostly in the sky, but often in the creature and sometimes found in people's clothes as well. But are there any other connections, emotionally, tonally, maybe the events of the scenes? Well, let's look at the events first. Something that I did notice as a story and plot connection between all of these moments is that they immediately lead into a place of death or bloodshed, with the exception of possibly the finale shot, which obviously is the ending of the film. But let's widdly woo back to the very first one and look at them all. So the first literally mirrored shot is in that bathroom. Victor is talking to Harlander. Harlander is saying he's going to take his money away if he doesn't see progress soon. The very next scene cuts to Victor next to one of his horrible sculptures with all the blood and gore and guts and stuff, and then he talks to Elizabeth. They have that heartbreaking scene, but what's immediately in that scene is the big massive body, the dissection he's working on. We see it, Elizabeth looks at it, so we see a lot of this blood and death and gore, and then after that scene we go immediately into the battlefield where Harlander is back and they're looking for dead bodies. So that immediately leads us into some blood and then some death as well. After the tower bedroom scene, where we've seen Harlander talk about his disease, we go immediately up to the top where the lightning is striking, the two men fight, and then Harlander falls to his death. Bloodshed and death in that one, almost immediately after as well. After the literally mirrored shot in the tower laboratory where Victor Frankenstein is shaving the creature's head and he's looked at himself in the mirror, the creature then picks up the razor and we get immediate bloodshed where it pours out of his hand and Victor's telling him to open it, let go, let go, let go. And we see this huge big wound that then does start to heal. So we get that immediate bloodshed in that scene. In the reversed shot where the creature walks through the trees and then he picks up the skull, grabs his coat, we immediately cut to a scene with the deer where he befriends this deer and then both the creature and the deer are shot, the deer is dead and the creature is bleeding and he has to stumble away to go and find that farmhouse. And then after the two wedding mirror scenes, which are almost one scene because they smush into each other so well, we immediately get the violence and bloodshed of the creature being hurt and of course William and Elizabeth bleeding and dying. Emotionally, there also seem to be some ties between these all reversed, flipped and mirrored shots, and it all seems to be about discovering and exploring your true self, a little bit of identity, some secrets and lies, whether you want to or not. Part 4. What could it mean? Before I get into giving the reversed final shot a much deeper meaning, I just want to explore a more simpler option for a second that some of you may have been screaming at your screens the entire way through watching this. Maybe the flipped shot ending and that shot in the forest were just mistakes. That is a really easy answer, and it could be true. I, however, am choosing not to believe it, and here are the reasons why. Number one, this film, as I have said many times, was clearly made with so much passion and attention to detail. I simply cannot believe that something as glaringly obvious as a flipped shot like that could go unnoticed. Number two, these scenes were shot the right way around, so flipping them was a choice. It was a decision that was made. And I am choosing to decide that there must have been a reason for that. And number three, it's just more fun to look deeper into things. I mean, isn't that the point of great bits of art? You get to look at it and interpret things. I think so. So that's why I'm choosing to read much further into this than possibly is in any way necessary, because it's just fun. I do want to talk very quickly about that first reversed shot though, the one that really definitely was reversed and flipped of the creature going through the trees. This scene in particular if this was a mistake or just a choice that they made for no reason other than the flow of the film, I would understand. Because look, he's just washed up and he's all completely ashore. We can see the tower burning behind him, and that's very important because that is in the next scene, the next shot that we get that is mirrored. So look at him. Okay, look at him. Let's whittly back just a little bit so we can look at him. All right, so you see him. We know him quite well by now, and this is fully lit. We see fully lit. We see the whole of him. Look at where the scar is on the front side. It's the same side as on the angel statue, so this is what we're comparing it to. He has got a bigger sort of, I'm calling them his Caleb bandages, if anyone knows Critical Role. They're on his left arm, but they're on our right side of looking at him. So big on the right, small on the left. Trees are next to him on, well, his right, but the left-hand side of the screen, right? So I get it. I understand completely why they want that flow to go through that way. This scene being flipped makes sense for artistic reasons, for the flow of the film. I genuinely get it, because you can still see the tower and everything. But in order to not have a very obvious flip of the monster, just don't have the tower in the background. Just cut this bit here where you can see the tower, and then start the scene somewhere like here. So you see the tree and just cut the tower out, you know? Or start it here. Start in this scene. And then he's in the woods and he can be coming from either fucking direction. It doesn't matter because we haven't followed him in. So I understand. I sound like I'm getting angry about this. I'm not. It's just frustrating me because it's so obvious. Look at his face. We know his face so well. And again, I saw this in the cinema. It was huge. Like, you see full face, full body. We see him right here. And it doesn't even cut to something else. There's no scene in between. It goes straight into this scene where it's wrong. It's the wrong way around. Look, the small one is on our right-hand side now. The big one's on our left. That crack that goes down the side of his face is on the other side. He is the wrong way round. Look at it right here. And this was in a cinema screen. Huge and up front and up close. We know this creature's face. We have seen this creature's face. Were we not supposed to notice? Look, it's back on the correct side of his face. I say correct. It's on the other side of his face. So I'm choosing to believe that there's some sort of artistic reason for that, because otherwise it just irritates me. And the behind the scenes, which I've watched far too many times. So this is the bit where they're talking about the creature's design. So if you haven't watched this yet, skip to about 15 minutes in, and they start talking about the creation of the creature. This shot. See, this is the shot I was just talking about in the film itself. And they filmed it the correct way around. So they filmed this with the makeup on. They haven't made a mistake with the makeup. This makeup they know incredibly well. So the shot is what I'm saying. The shot has been flipped. I think we can paint our own picture of what this means and how this might shape the finale and give us a hint about what's going to happen next. These are all moments of self-discovery and revelation, bathed in gold and grey light, and followed by bloodshed and or death. So is that it then? Is that the reason? A literal mirror or mirror flipped shot means that someone is having a moment of self-discovery and soon someone's gonna die, or at least bleed a lot. And does that mean that the final reversed shot is hinting that that is what's coming next for the creature? Bathed in golden rays of light against a grey sky, he looks out to his future and it's gonna be bloody and messy. There's gonna be more suffering and harm, more death, harm and horrors everywhere. Is that what's coming for him over and over again? Perhaps. But then again, maybe not. Because technically there was death and bloodshed attached to that final scene. It just happened, to be really ironic now, in reverse. So the final reverse shot comes just after we've watched Frankenstein cough up blood and then die. So the connection of having bloodshed or death connecting every single one of those scenes still holds true. So could we then say that the finale shot is actually showing us that this new outlook on life is full of hope? He's had that bloodshed, it's now behind him, whereas in all the rest of the story it came after, always and after. But this flipped shot shows that we are seeing things in a new perspective, and so is he. Maybe it's that literal. They flip the shot because the creature is now completely seeing things in a new way. New hope, and the bloodshed is not going to happen. Within this idea, there's also an echo of another scene that I couldn't not talk about in this video, and that is from woodly-wooing all the way back to the start of the creature's existence, when he stands at the foot of Victor's bed and Victor wakes up, and they have an actual, very rare moment between them of care for the brief moment before, you know, Victor loses all sense of novelty and the creature gets chained up downstairs. Anyway, he has that moment where he opens the curtains and he turns the frightened creature around and says, "No, son is life. Embrace it." and he shows him the sunlight, the gold sunlight pouring through, and there's grey skies, and they both stand there and they take a breath and they close their eyes and they look out into this golden sun. That is definitely being mirrored and echoed in this finale shot. As the creature takes his hood down, he takes a breath, he closes his eyes, and he's bathed in that golden light. So this is a literal mirroring of a scene that happened earlier. It's definitely a sort of full circle moment, and if you choose to look at this scene with hope for a hopeful ending, because Victor Frankenstein has died, but he's told him to live, you know, my son, live, and it's sun and light and live and light and the sunlight. I can absolutely see why you would choose to believe that, and I like it as a read. It's very, very sweet. I enjoy it. However, Part 5, a decision. My interpretation of the ending of this film really hasn't changed. It has been pretty solidly cemented since my first viewing. So what do I think the ending of this film is? Well, it's not happy. No matter what his maker says, being forced to continue living with no choice and to suffer and continue to bleed and to not die, it doesn't feel right. It feels cruel and it feels sad. Where can he go? What does he have? Only hours previously, this creature was so desperate to be allowed to die that he held onto a stick of dynamite and he was crying when he realized he was still alive. Now, I really hope that he does manage to find joy and that this ending does mean that he gets happiness in the end, that this golden light marks the spark of newness, and the fact that he doesn't have anything or anyone means he can go anywhere and meet new people and he can become whatever he wants and discover so many things. I really hope that, but ultimately for me, I am still sad when the credits roll. This person has suffered and will continue to suffer. And for me, the reversed shot may mean that the creature has a renewed hope, a changed perspective, but given everything else that has happened in other mirrored shots and just his life as a whole, I can't see things getting any better. Maybe I am determined to be a fan of a sad ending. I mean, if anyone has read any of my stories or listened to any of the videos where I improvise storytelling, I lean towards the dramatic and sad and melancholy ending. So maybe I am just looking for that in pieces of media. But I do really believe that this ending is open to interpretation. And my interpretation of it has always been that it is sad, it is heartbreaking. And while there may be hope, there is also this air of hopelessness about it. And when I look at that reversed shot, to me, when you put it together with all the other reverse shots, or even if you ignore them completely, to me it means he has a new perspective, but ultimately it's still making him sad. He looks down. It's like he is resigned to his fate. And maybe that's his new outlook. His creator has just said to him, while you are alive, what recourse do you have but to live? The problem is it's not a choice he can make. He's forced to be alive. And so maybe he's facing that and deciding, yes, I have no choice but to live. But it's not necessarily a happy thought. Anyway, on that happy note, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below and let me know what you want me to talk about in the next video. I think I'm probably going to talk about just Victor Frankenstein's character and how truly terrible he is and his descent and all this horrible stuff about people who really shouldn't be parents and people who try to be parents so hard that they forget that actually you're making a life, not a thing, not a mini you. The rage in me is strong today. Anyway, I love this film. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Have a good day. Don't forget to hydrate. Be great to each other. Mighty 9 comes out in a few days. You'll be hearing a lot from me then. All right. Bye-bye.